Picture this, a motion sensor that works with your daughter's iPhone, your son's Android, and your own voice assistant without needing 3 different apps or a degree in computer science. That's not wishful thinking anymore. That's what Matter Protocol does, and it's quietly revolutionizing how we design homes for aging in place. I'm Keiko Tanaka, and I've spent years helping families navigate the messy world of smart home tech.
You're listening to the Smart Home Setup Podcast. Quick heads up before we dive in. The research, data, and everything you're about to hear comes from real experts and is 100% human-written and verified, but the voice reading it to you is AI-generated. Just wanted to be upfront about that. For those of you who's been listening for a while, thanks for being here. You're the reason we keep digging into this stuff week after week. And if this is your first episode, I'm glad you found us. This is where we break down smart home tech in ways that actually make sense for everyday life. New episodes drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so there's always something new to learn. Today, we're tackling Matter Protocol and why it's quietly becoming one of the most important developments for anyone designing a home for aging in place. Let's jump in. For those aging in place, technology should fade into the architecture of daily life, anticipating needs without demanding attention. Understanding Matter Protocol becomes essential when designing homes where a light responds to presence without a complicated app, where temperature adjusts without memorizing schedules, and where family members across different tech ecosystems can monitor well-being seamlessly. This unified language between smart devices transforms assistive technology from a visible reminder of vulnerability into an invisible support system that preserves dignity and independence. So, what exactly is Matter Protocol? Matter is a universal smart home communication standard that allows devices from different manufacturers, Apple, Google, Amazon, Samsung, and hundreds of others, to work together without platform barriers. Released in late 2022 and now in its Matter 1.4 specification as of 2026, it runs over existing infrastructure: Thread, which is a low-power wireless mesh network, Wi-Fi, and Ethernet. Unlike Zigbee or Z-Wave, which require dedicated hubs and locked users into specific ecosystems, Matter creates a shared vocabulary. When I specify lighting for a client's home, I'm no longer choosing between Philips Hue's Zigbee ecosystem or waiting to see if a new switch will work with their existing Google Home setup. A Matter-certified bulb speaks to an Apple HomePod, an Amazon Echo, or a Google Nest Hub identically. The protocol handles authentication, security using the same cryptographic standards as online banking, and command translation behind the scenes. For seniors, this technical unification has profound practical implications. Adult children with iPhones can help manage a parent's home even if that home runs primarily on Google devices. A visiting nurse can adjust lighting through voice commands regardless of the underlying platform. Understanding Matter Protocol means recognizing that the technology adapts to the person, not the reverse. Exactly the design philosophy that makes aging in place graceful rather than grudging. One important clarification: Matter doesn't replace Thread, Zigbee, or Z-Wave entirely. Instead, it sits atop Thread and Wi-Fi as an application layer, defining how devices describe themselves and respond to commands. Thread provides the low-latency mesh networking underneath, while Matter ensures the devices themselves are interoperable. Now, let's talk about how Matter Protocol actually works. Matter's architecture rests on 3 components: devices, like sensors, lights, and locks; controllers, which are hubs that send commands; and border routers, which are bridges between Thread networks and your home's Wi-Fi or Ethernet backbone.
Here's what happens when you say, "dim the living room lights" to a voice assistant. The controller, whether it's an Echo, HomePod, or Nest Hub, authenticates your identity and translates your command into Matter's command language. It sends an encrypted message to the target devices via Thread or Wi-Fi. The devices acknowledge receipt,
execute the command by dimming to the specified percentage and report their new state back to the controller. If something goes wrong, the system times out after 2 to 3 seconds, retries once, and then reports a failure. In terms of speed, Matter over Thread typically responds within 200 to 500 milliseconds for lighting commands, fast enough to feel instant. Matter over Wi-Fi can range from 300 milliseconds to 2 seconds, depending on network congestion, because Wi-Fi prioritizes bandwidth over responsiveness. For safety-critical applications like fall detection or door locks, Thread's reliability advantage becomes significant. Thread's mesh network advantage is worth understanding in more detail. Unlike Wi-Fi, where every device connects directly to your router and can create congestion, Thread builds a self-healing mesh. Each powered device, a smart outlet, a hardwired switch, acts as a relay point. If one node fails, messages route around it automatically. I've installed Matter over Thread lighting in homes where thick plaster walls would cripple Wi-Fi signals. The mesh simply adapts, creating pathways through outlets and switches embedded throughout the space. You need at least one Thread border router. Many 2026 smart hubs include this, and ideally 3 to 5 powered Thread devices to establish a robust mesh. Battery-powered sensors, like motion detectors or door contacts, can sleep between events, conserving power while remaining reachable through the mesh. Fallback behavior and reliability become critical considerations. Matter devices must declare their fallback state during commissioning. What happens if the network drops? For seniors living alone, this becomes critical. Smart locks should default to their last commanded state, locked or unlocked, not automatically unlock. Lighting can be configured to either maintain current state or return to 50% brightness if connection is lost during a command. Motion-activated nightlights should continue local automation, like turning on when motion is detected, even without hub connectivity, using onboard logic. Not all Matter devices implement robust fallback equally. When evaluating products for senior households, I specifically test what happens when I unplug the hub mid-routine. Devices that freeze or become unresponsive require a manual power cycle, unacceptable for someone with limited mobility. Testing smart device response times and latency across protocols reveals these gaps before installation. Moving on to why Matter protocol matters specifically for senior living.
The protocol's significance extends beyond technical elegance into the everyday texture of aging safely at home. First, there's ecosystem flexibility without retraining. Most seniors I've worked with develop comfort with one interface. I know how to ask Alexa and resist learning new systems. When a family member gifts a new device from a different ecosystem, it often sits unused. Matter dissolves this barrier. That Google Nest doorbell your daughter installed works with your established Alexa routines. The Thread-enabled motion sensor your son added communicates with the existing hub without requiring new apps or account linking. Then there's family-wide monitoring without platform lock-in. Adult children scattered across different ecosystems can now monitor and assist simultaneously. Your iPhone-using daughter checks whether the front door locked each night through her Home app. Your Android-loyal son receives temperature alerts through Google Home. Both access the same devices, the same status information, with no compatibility translation required. This interoperability transforms smart home monitoring from a single gatekeeper responsibility into a distributed family support system. And there's future-proofing against obsolescence. Proprietary protocols create abandonment risk. I've redesigned homes where perfectly functional Z-Wave devices became orphaned when manufacturers discontinued cloud services. Matter's local control requirement, devices must function without cloud dependency for core features, protects against this. Even if a manufacturer exits the market, Matter devices continue operating through any compatible controller. For seniors planning to age in place over decades, this durability matters profoundly. Let's look at Matter protocol device types and limitations. As of Matter 1.4 in 2026, the protocol officially supports these device categories. For lighting, you've got bulbs, strips, and switches with on-off, dimming, color temperature, and RGB control, typically with 200 to 400 millisecond latency over thread. Plugs and outlets include smart plugs with energy monitoring, though reporting accuracy is within plus or minus 2 to 5% compared to dedicated monitors. Switches and controls cover wall switches, remotes, and scene controllers. For HVAC, thermostats handle heat and cool modes, fan control, and humidity sensing. Locks provide smart door locks with remote lock and unlock and status reporting. Sensors include door and window contacts, motion sensors, and temperature and humidity sensors. Blinds and shades cover motorized window coverings with position control, and safety devices include smoke and CO detectors and water leak sensors. But there are protocol limitations and gaps to be aware of.
Cameras remain outside Matter 1.4's scope. Too much bandwidth variance, too many competing video codec standards. Security cameras still require manufacturer-specific ecosystems. For seniors prioritizing subscription-free security systems, this means pairing Matter devices like sensors and locks with a separate camera solution. Appliances and specialized medical devices also fall outside current specifications. That smart medication dispenser or fall detection system likely uses Wi-Fi or Zigbee with manufacturer-specific apps. I've integrated covert sensors into senior homes where mixing protocols is inevitable. Matter handles the ambient environment, while specialized Zigbee or Wi-Fi devices manage health monitoring. Energy monitoring granularity varies as well. While Matter smart plugs report real-time power consumption, they lack the circuit-level detail of dedicated monitors like the Emporia View or Sense system. For comprehensive energy management, Matter works alongside rather than replacing these tools. Now, choosing between Thread and Wi-Fi Matter. Thread excels when you need dozens of devices creating mesh redundancy, battery-powered sensors maximizing sleep cycles, minimum latency for lighting and motion response, or when thick walls or complex floor plans require mesh self-healing. Wi-Fi Matter works when you have fewer than 10 devices total, strong Wi-Fi coverage throughout the space, existing Wi-Fi smart home investment, since adding Thread requires new border routers, or devices like video doorbells that need high bandwidth anyway. For senior installations, I default to Thread-based Matter unless the home already has robust Wi-Fi coverage and minimal device count. The mesh resilience matters more than raw speed when reliability determines whether someone can safely navigate their space at night. Let's address some frequently asked questions. Does Matter protocol work if my internet goes out? Yes, for local automations and control. Matter's local control requirement means devices respond to controllers on the same network even without internet. If your Thread border router or Wi-Fi hub remains powered, you can still control lights, locks, and sensors through voice or apps. However, remote access from outside your home and cloud-dependent features like weather-based automations or remote notifications to family members will fail until internet returns. This makes Matter particularly suitable for aging-in-place scenarios where independence shouldn't rely on ISP uptime. Can I mix Matter devices with my existing Zigbee or Z-Wave devices?
Yes, but through separate control paths, they won't communicate directly with each other. Most 2026 smart hubs like Samsung SmartThings or Hubitat support multiple protocols simultaneously, acting as translators. You create automations at the hub level. If Zigbee motion sensor detects movement, then turn on Matter lights. The hub bridges the protocols, though this adds roughly 200 to 500 milliseconds of latency compared to same protocol communication. For seniors, this mixed approach works well when gradually migrating to Matter without replacing functional existing devices.
How do I know if a device truly supports Matter or just claims compatibility? Look for the official Matter certification logo, a stylized M with 3 interlocking arcs, on packaging and the Connectivity Standards Alliance certified product database. Marketing materials often blur lines between Works with Matter, which requires a bridge, and Matter Certified, which means native support. Genuine Matter devices include a unique QR code or numeric pairing code you scan during setup. If the device requires downloading a manufacturer's separate app before it works with your Apple, Google, or Amazon controller, it's likely bridged rather than native. Understanding Matter 1.4 compatibility requirements helps navigate these distinctions before purchasing. Will Matter devices stop working if the manufacturer goes out of business? Core functions, turning lights on and off, reading sensor states, locking and unlocking, will continue indefinitely because Matter requires local control without cloud dependencies. However, firmware updates, advanced features tied to manufacturer servers like vacation modes or AI-based learning, and customer support obviously cease. This represents a dramatic improvement over proprietary cloud-only devices, which become electronic bricks when servers shut down. For senior safety applications, prioritize devices from established manufacturers or those with proven long-term support, but know Matter's architecture provides baseline protection against obsolescence that previous protocols lacked. Is Matter more secure than older smart home protocols like Zigbee or Z-Wave? Matter implements modern cryptographic standards comparable to banking security, AES 128 encryption, certificate-based authentication, and mandatory secure boot. Zigbee 3.0 and Z-Wave S2 also use strong encryption when implemented correctly, but many older devices on those protocols predate security requirements. Matter's advantage is security by design rather than by vendor choice. Certification requires it. For senior households where a compromised smart lock or camera poses genuine safety risk, Matter's enforced security baseline provides meaningful protection. That said, network security still depends on your router configuration and Wi-Fi password strength. Matter can't protect against a fundamentally insecure home network. To wrap things up here, understanding Matter protocol for seniors distills to this: technology that adapts rather than demands adaptation. By creating a universal language between devices, Matter transforms smart homes from a collection of competing ecosystems into an invisible infrastructure that responds consistently, reliably, and without requiring mastery of multiple apps or interfaces. The protocol runs over Thread or Wi-Fi, maintains local control when internet fails, and protects against obsolescence, qualities that align precisely with the needs of those aging in place. When designing spaces for clients who want safety features without surrendering their home's character to visible technology, Matter's interoperability becomes the foundation. The motion sensors tucked into millwork, the switches that dim evening light as routines wind down, the locks that report status to adult children across different devices. These function as a cohesive whole precisely because Matter eliminated the friction between them. Choose thread-based Matter devices for homes requiring mesh resilience across challenging floor plans. Verify true certification through the official database. Test fallback behavior during installation, not during an emergency. And remember that technology serves best when it becomes part of the home's natural rhythm, felt in its effects, invisible in its presence. That's it for this episode of the Smart Home Setup Podcast. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Whether you're planning your own home setup or helping a family member figure this stuff out, I hope this gave you some useful perspective. We drop new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so you'll never be waiting long for the next one. If you found this episode valuable, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a 5-star rating and write a quick review. It's honestly the best way to help other people who are searching for this kind of straight-talk smart home advice actually find the show. And go ahead and hit subscribe or follow so you get notified the second a new episode goes live. I'll see you next time.